everybody. It's your girl Miracle Sims, and you are listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration and juice. Today it is May the 27th, 2021, and today the topic is respect my authority, or in other words, respect my authority in my Carpenter voice. I guess shout out to South Park, which is probably the most random phrase you'll ever hear on a Christian podcast or whatever. I don't know. But anywho, respect my authority. Actually, this topic kind of came to me before I started to do my routine. Yes, I did the full routine, y'all. The full routine. Woo. But yeah, it kind of came to me before I got started. And I mean, I guess it's inspired by a few things, but in particular, I believe it's inspired by a conversation that I was having a few days ago or last week. I can't even remember when it was now. But yeah, it was just a conversation, whatever the case is. I'll leave it at that. Don't want to call nobody out or whatever the case is, but it was very interesting. Because this person was expressing their desires, and for me, I'm like, well, your desires are easy, right? Like, you need to be in a position to receive those desires. As I had to be, like, I share my testimony as all the time as well. I'll say that again just in case that it makes sense. I said I share my testimonies all the time as well about that, about being single miracle versus married miracle. Married miracle has a few more privileges than single miracle did, with becoming a wife and having a husband and all those things. And it's like, okay, if you want or if you desire husbandly or wifely things, then I mean, perhaps you should get a wife or a husband, or become a wife or a husband like that. I mean, now people get that stuff without that. Let's be clear. I mean, that does happen. Let's not be, act like we don't know. But obviously, it's like God divines order, right? Like, there's always going to be something missing. There's always going to be something that is not in order, I guess you could say. Is if you don't do it God's way, for example. Like, that's just a quick little summary of where the idea came from. And so I mean, that's what the conversation is about today. That's why I ended up, getting some more information about in the Word of God. And I mean, we can go ahead and get into it. When I started to look up authority, biblical authority, obviously there's a lot of different things that this word authority touches on, right? And so I am going to be specific and say that I'm going to focus more so on the marriage side of authority and not just authority in general. But I mean, there's plenty in the Word of God that has to say about authority in general. So there. And in case you don't know what authority means, authority is the power or right to give orders, make decisions, and enforce obedience. So it's so funny because I ended up defining the word last, interestingly enough, after I did all my biblical note taking. And when I found this definition and as I was writing it down, I was just thinking to myself, like, these are all things that we don't like. All things that we don't like as humans. most of us don't like people giving orders, making decisions for us, enforcing obedience. Like, people don't like that stuff. Now, let's be honest, right? I don't think people want someone else to have that authority over them, for lack of a better way for me to say it. And again, that's on a whole nother level. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole different conversation. If you have a problem with authority in general, again. But again, I'm going to focus more so on the marriage aspect and that part of this conversation. So, of course, one of the first verses I came across this morning was Ephesians 5:22. It says, "Wives, submit to your own husbands as to the Lord." Now, here we go. Here we go, because this is one of them verses that people have problems with, right? Take issues with. Now, so here's the thing, like, I think I've already, again, established that people in general, male or female, people in general have issues with authority already, right? And then here comes this verse that is specific to the wives, saying to submit to your own husbands as to the Lord. Now listen, you know what I mean? According to the word, we're supposed to be submitting to God in all kinds of ways. You know what I'm saying? So when you think about that, and then you're telling a wife to submit to her husband as to the Lord, people got issue. People take issue. Not me necessarily, but there's people that take issue with that. Now, obviously, this verse led me to want to go deeper and look at what was around it, because that's the thing. If you take a verse out, right, and then try to take that verse and make a whole movement on that one verse without reading the rest of the verses, then yeah, you got, that could add to the issues and problems with this conversation. So obviously your girl went to go look at the rest of what was said. So I read Ephesians 5, so that is going to be part of the Go Deeper section today if you want to peruse that on your own. I did read it in its entirety and everything like that. So, y'all know me. Y'all know what I'm about to do. Share the verses that stood out to me. Okay. So, again, the Ephesians 5:22, it focused on the wives, right? So, just for the record, one of the first verses that stood out to me was verse 21. And it said, "Submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God." Submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God. That's what that verse says. And then the very next verse after that says, "Wives." So now this is just me making the observation. Okay, this is making an observation now. In verse 21, it says, "Submitting yourselves one to another." So if I stop right there, submitting ourselves one to another. Now, who are we talking to? Right? One to another. Okay. Obviously, we're talking to two people. Now, that's just me. At least two. We at least talking to at least two people, right? Not just one or whatever. We said one to another. So that represents at least two. Okay. All right. So, in the fear of God. So, the reverence of God, respect of God. Okay. So, submitting yourselves one to another. So, we're talking to at least two people here. And then that very next verse says wives. Now, again, if I make an observation, this is me now. This is me making an observation. One to another, two people. Okay. And the first person that is being spoken to right after that is wives. So I'm just going to assume now we shouldn't always assume, but in this case, I'm going to go ahead and assume that if one of the people is wives, because that's the very next person you talk to when this verse says submit yourselves one to another, and then the first person you say something to is the wife, then I can only assume that the other person in this conversation is the husband. Y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I can only assume that based on what I'm reading. I guess I want to make this clear and reiterate this, because the narrative that there's this, how you want me to say it, Lord? How you want me to say it? Okay, the narrative that, women should just well, you know what, y'all, I'm gonna let the Bible say it itself, because just these two verses have already said a lot. This is two verses today. But first of all, it's not that, well, okay, I'm gonna talk about this right now. I'm gonna talk about this right now, because I was about to go on something else, but that's something else. And this in particular, this is saying wives, right? Wives, submit to your own husbands. So, now, people take issue with that, like we've already established. But, again, it's a whole nother subject to talk about women in general and men in general. But in this situation of wives and husbands, wife, submit to your own husband. Now, again, in verse 21, submitting one to another. Submitting yourselves one to another was said. So, it already was said to submit one to another. Now, so basically what I'm saying here is that we shouldn't feel as if women don't have any say-so. Or not even just say-so, but have any authority in this situation of marriage, right? Or in this situation of husband and wife, or in this situation, but that is the narrative, though. That is the narrative, that the wife doesn't have authority in this situation. It's submit to your husband, and people focus on that as if the word already didn't say submit one to another. It already said that. I don't know what y'all think one to another means. I don't know what else it can mean. It already said one to another, and then it says wives. It gives wives like submit to your own husband as to the Lord. What's wrong with that? Now, hey, people take issue with it. Whatever. I'm just saying, from what I'm reading here, I don't see nothing wrong with that. But that's me. Now, moving on, verse 25 stood out to me. And it says, husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. Now, Pastor David Lynn espouses on this beautifully. So if you guys need to go deeper and really, really hear somebody preach to you about this, then you might want to go check out Christ's Forgiveness and see the conversation he had to the husbands. I believe he did one for wives and for husbands. You guys can look on his YouTube and check that out, right? However, in this little situation of the juice and what our Bible studied this morning, I'm just going to share what the Lord shared with me, you know what I mean? Or as I read these things. And so for me, what stood out to me in this verse is the idea of love. Because I think the issue, or one of the issues with this whole conversation is that we, as humans, we take all of these words lightly. I feel like that's one of our main issues. We take the husband word, the wife word, and love. We take all that stuff lightly. So when you see this verse that says, "Husband, love your wives," and that's the first part right there. That ain't even getting into the rest of it. Love your wives. You don't, for whatever reason, you guys think, and I'm just saying you guys because I don't know, or people that take issue with the wives submitting, y'all guys, you know what I mean? You all. Hopefully none of y'all is listening to me right now, but I don't know, you know what I'm saying? And so, the people who take issue with wives submitting to their husbands, I don't think that they fully understand the word wife, husband, and love. That's just me. That's just something I received today as I was reading. I think we take these words lightly, and therefore, for whatever reason, when you hear submit, you don't hold that. That holds more weight in people's minds than the word love, for whatever reason. And it holds much more weight in their minds to the point where they take issue with that verse. There's no other way to say that. So, but I'll continue. So, husband, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church. Now, the verse finishes up and tells us how he loved the church. But let's just think about that. Christ loved the church. What did he do? How did he show you he loved the church? Well, let's finish up the verse. It says here, and gave himself for it. Now, again, gave himself for it. How did he give himself for the church? He died. Gave up his own life for the church. Now, I don't know. So, I don't know which holds more weight if we want to go there. You know what I'm saying? Because submission or death, which one is holding more weight here in our minds? Because obviously it seems as if submission holds more weight than death, but does it? That's the question y'all can ask yourselves on today. I don't know, but I'm just saying what I'm reading here and what I'm gathering by reading it. So yeah, that's just something to think about. And if you want to go even further, again, y'all can read all of this on your own. But from what I recall, there was one verse to the wives. Trying to think what was those verses after verse 22. It was just 24 and 23. And I can't remember what all they said right now. But if you want to say, like, if we just go ahead and say in our mind that, okay, yeah, that was 3 verses to the wives, like, wife, submit to your husband. Then let's say 23 said something else, 24 said something else, right? My point is, from between verse 25 and 31, all of that was directions for the man. All of that was in reference to the husband, of how he should treat his wife, why he should treat his wife, X, Y, and Z. Even in Numbers, this direction for the husband holds more weight than the direction for the wife. I'm just saying, but people will build that mountain out of the molehill of Ephesians 22. They will stand on the rooftops. They will stand on the soapbox and down the whole Bible because of Ephesians 5:22. I'm finna go up too silly this morning. I don't know what's going on with me. But what I'm saying, like people will go in because of that one verse, Ephesians 5:22. But at the end of the day, more has been said, more weight has been put on the man, more weight has been put on, more has been put on the husband than the wife. It's saying, husband, love your wife as Christ loved the church. Be willing to give up your life for your wife. Is what I'm reading. Now, I don't know what y'all read when y'all read these things, but that's what it pretty much sounded like to me. So again, I think we make light of husband, wife, love, and all these things. But let's keep going. So then verse 33 stood out to me. And it says, nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. Yeah. I mean, just something to think about, y'all. Y'all can let that marinate on your heart, souls, and minds this morning. Let me go on. 1 Corinthians 11:3 says, but I want you to understand that the head of every man is Christ. Now, I'm gonna go and keep reading, okay? I'm gonna say it again. Here we go. But I want you to understand that the head of every man is Christ. The head of a wife is her husband, and the head of Christ is God. Now, let's just point out words here. I'm just gonna point out words here, because again, people want to, people take issue with the Bible. They make it this whole thing about women empowerment and or the lack of women empowerment and all these different things. So let's just talk about it here. So it says the head of every man is Christ. Now that's every man, whether you a husband or not. That's just me. That's what I'm reading here. That's what I'm understanding, right? But the next part, it says the head of a wife is her husband. Now, we just established that every man represents the husbands and the non-husbands, right? But wife only represents a certain group of women. That's just me and my little understanding. But a wife only represents a certain group of women. So that's not all, because all women are wives, right? I don't know if that's just me that is getting that right now. All women are wives. So it's not saying it. I don't see it here. Every man has. Now see again. There's a deeper subject of men and women, so I don't want to get too much into that, because I did not Bible study that this morning. Focusing on the marriage aspect. I keep having to make myself do that because I keep wanting to go deeper. But listen, but that's the thing. That's the thing to point out here, that wife, the head of you is your husband. Okay. And then the head of Christ is God. Okay. I mean, I guess they understand their relationship already, so we ain't gotta tell them. But anyway, so next, basically, there's another verse which I shared with you all in the previous juice, but so I won't go into it, but you guys can read it in the midst of the Go Deeper section. Is 1 Corinthians 7:4. It's pretty much talking about the authority that the wife have over the husband and vice versa in regards to each other's bodies, things like that. But yeah, so that is that, y'all. I mean, here, this is what I'm saying. Ultimately, I guess is what I'm saying here. In regards to the conversation that I was having the other day. No judgment, you know what I'm saying? People people have their own journeys, you know what I'm saying? And so, and like I said, even me, I have my own journey as well. And so yes, there are things I desired, right? Especially when I was single. There are things that I desired, but then I had to make necessary steps, you know, and everything like that, to learn and to grow and to now become who I am now, what I am now, which, you know, like I said, I'm a single woman, and now I've become a wife, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, there's certain authorities and certain things and that I did not have as a single woman, you know what I mean? And so all I say is, if that is something you desire, if this is what you want, like if you desire marriage, if you desire a husband or a wife, or to have authority or whatnot, I would say, well, one, you might want to find you a Bible believing wife or husband, and someone that understands God's word, to know and understand that, you know, when it comes to this whole conversation of authority, especially like authority over each other's bodies and whatnot, because even if you marry somebody, right? If they don't understand this word, and if they don't acknowledge it, then you still probably won't get that thing that you really want, if that makes any sense. And that's what at the end of the day, you gotta let God lead you and guide you on who you date, marry, interact with. All that stuff matters. But to, you know, hey, Bible believing people, X, Y, and Z, you know, they understand that, yes, you know, again, as an example, but also what's in the word is that I have authority over my husband's body and he has authority over my body, according to the Bible. So, yeah, you know, it's order to be in a relationship like that, and then again, it can go into a whole lot of different other things as well. So I guess I won't get too deep into that at the moment, but yeah, it's just something to think about when it comes to this conversation. And I hope that by knowing this, it encourages you and inspires you today to again, like, take the words a little bit more seriously. Take the word wife, the word husband, the word love. Get a better understanding. Like, ask God for his understanding of it. I think that would help us all when it comes to this. And yeah, it's just something to think about, y'all. That's the juice. That is the juice. But the Bible verse of today is John 3:17. It says, "For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved." Friends, I hope you all enjoyed this juice this morning. Thank you so much for listening to God, Sex, and Love, your daily dose of inspiration and juice. I pray you guys can go forth and have a wonderful day, and I look forward to talking to you all tomorrow, if the Lord's will. Now, you know tomorrow is Friday, and so we have an episode of God, Sex, and Love, the talk show, going live with Miss Allison Clark. Yes, I will be going live with Miss Allison Clark, if the Lord's will. So yes, be on the lookout for us tomorrow at 7 p.m. on our Facebook and our YouTube, and yes, GodSexAndLove.com. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Hello, charmers. Visit ttcboutique.com for the latest in fashion and accessories. Twice the charm, the source of women clothing.